So this is called Nocturnal Animals, because I was thinking about how to do this. So this is called people. It's like, what am I supposed to talk about? I was thinking about how to do nocturnal animals. Okay. So this is called... I make this like a video podcast. What do I know? Like, nocturnal animals rarely blink. So this is called... Because you have to stay awake to get as much light into your eyes as you can. So this is called Nocturnal Animals, because I was thinking about how to do this. So this is called people. Nocturnal Animals. It's like, what am I supposed to talk about? Nocturnal Animals. Okay. I make this like a video podcast. What do I know? Like, nocturnal animals rarely blink. Because you have to stay awake to get as much light into your eyes as you can. So this is called Nocturnal Animals, because I was thinking about how to do this. To get as much light into your eyes. All right. Okay, just to have something else to do. Because I'm resisting the urge. I'm filming it anyway. This is called Nocturnal Animals, because I was thinking about how to do this. I was going through my list, which I have written, and it's number 31 of the main ones, 211 in total. I have 52 main videos and then stuff I do in between. So I was trying to find out how to do this. And one thing that annoys me to a large degree is that you feel like you have to prove that you're actually doing your art. And in a way you have to, if you're a digital artist, you have to prove. But, people just say you're fake just to annoy you. I've been honing my skills in art. It's about colors. It's about... people just don't spend time with art. They have no idea about art, and then they just say, yeah, he probably, it's probably AI. Yeah. You need to hone your skills in seeing to actually see, the beauty in anything. So I have neighbors here that take nothing seriously and that just say things to trigger me. Yeah? So we live in a world like every world, I suppose, because every world, believe it or not, is run by nature. And nature is all about competition and the struggle for survival. Now, this time, that we're experiencing is a lot about the mind. And the reason I have managed to keep pushing is because I stayed awake at night. And I was really thinking, how am I supposed to do this? Well, I just wanted to find a way, and I realized I cannot stand right now because it's too hard. I have to sit. So I just had to sit because I know I'm actually standing a lot, I'm moving a lot. But I also realized that if I stand too much, it's just as bad. Because for this kind of work, standing is becoming increasingly hard. I cannot write while standing. It's impossible. And it's annoying me to a large degree, but I know that tomorrow I'm gonna do a long hike. It's a long hike, it's a mission. I have to be somewhere which is about 2 hours walking away from where I am. And that's where I'm gonna get a gas stove double cooker thingy. And that's a task I've set myself willingly. Because I have chosen to give back the electric stove I received from my mother, because there was one side that broke, and then I was looking for a solution, and then suddenly I saw my way because I wanted to cook with gas. But for that I also need a gas bottle, of course. So I found a gas stove on some kind of sometimes I hate doing art. Especially during times like this, I just hate doing it. Especially if you're dealing with people that are not serious ever about anything. I mean, what I was just saying about my neighbor, I mean, he's also awake at night a lot. He's like a kid, right? And he's just making these ridiculous voices just to annoy people, so he has like an attention problem. And sure, I'm asking for attention. I mean, it's hard to deny that. But I've actually got something to say. He's just sitting at home watching porn and getting bored. And I just know that. And it's just annoying that we live in a world where this is normal for children to be like this. Like complete weird weaklings. And it's hard to also deny that I have a history of being like this. But I was never... Yeah, I had some really annoying traits. But simply also because I was kind of... I have my own uncertainties. Despite the fact that I find myself relatively comfortable in nature, I had a hard time getting used to other people. So in the beginning I was just talking a lot, but I'm not sure if that's actually bad. I think I was just trying to communicate something, and then I was rejected for it. So in a way I tried to change it. Plus, I talk way less now because I finished my podcast for 2025 already. And we're in May 2024, which is a major step for me. And it's already uploaded. which means I don't have to do anything for that for some time until I will probably start again, but I cannot say so. People, it's like, what am I supposed to talk about here? I mean, nocturnal animals. Okay. I make this like a video podcast. What do I know? Like, nocturnal animals rarely blink, I think. Because you have to stay awake to get as much light into your eyes as you can. So you can make out shapes and shadows and pick up traces of energy that you can train your eyes to see. You know, people always talk like animals have these special skills of seeing. Yeah, because they're actually paying attention. Because they have to actually hunt for their prey to stay alive. Humans just forgot about this stuff and they started to create nonsense like AI and, machines that produce and harvest food, which makes just humans basically unnecessary, right? Because humans think that you can actually receive pleasure from doing nothing. Yeah, good job. You're going to be so soft that your entire life is going to suck because everything is going to scare you. And the only experience you're going to be able to withstand is sitting on a couch watching movies or putting on virtual reality goggles. That's where comfort gets you. You're going to be so weak that you cannot even go to the forest anymore. And then you say, yeah, big deal. It's like, yeah, because that's the only place where you can really connect. But now it's the problem, you don't even want to connect anymore because you're so like, no, I don't want to connect anymore. Yeah, because trying to connect to spirit at your stage is gonna feel like death. Like, it's gonna be very uncomfortable because all your meridians are blocked. Energy has stopped flowing, my friend. So how are you gonna change that? Because you allowed it to happen. I went through my healing and it was like torture. I mean, the stuff that Wim Hof talks about, it's good and nice for him. He discovered this when he was 16. I only discovered it when I was above 30. So I had a lifetime of jacking off to pornography. I had a lifetime of sitting. I had a lifetime of smoking. I had a lifetime of being lazy, right? Like worshiping ignorance, that kind of stuff. And I can tell you that the first times I went swimming in cold water, it just felt like death. It felt like my hands were being tortured. Because of all the crimes you can say I've been committing against myself. And then you say, yeah, what's that supposed to mean? Yeah, exactly what I've said. I mean, in a way, stealing is a crime. But you can also just say, you can explain it different. I don't like saying, we're all survivors. Do you really think we're being punished for having stolen something from a shop at some point? Because nature, there is no capitalism in nature. And sometimes people steal because there's an imbalance. You've given a lot but received nothing back. Right? I mean, nature worships the strong. So in a way, you just survive, right? So what's the consequences? Well, what I feel like I've been dealing with is mostly emotional stuff. I don't know. We're all blobs of energy and we have bodies. And if we stop channeling energy because we try to act like, we are no animals, which we clearly are. I mean, my body is an animal. That's the basic teaching. Your body is an animal. So if you stop living like an animal, and animals usually move, we consider ourselves to be mammals. And as mammals, we should lead active lifestyles. We can clearly see that if we look at our if that's a word, physiology, our body shape, that we share certain traits with beings that we call monkeys or apes, primates. But we act like we left that behind. And so we just sit around all day and drive around in cars and drink coffee to stay awake. Now, I clearly need to sleep at certain times. But is that really true? Or have I just forgotten how to be awake for long periods of time? Because nobody needs, there are times where you get used to being awake more, where you barely sleep. And then there are times where you need a lot of sleep. Sometimes I need sleep, and sometimes I just stay awake. I'm not sure how long I'm going to stay awake. Maybe I'm just going to stay awake for a very long time. But if you tell that to people, let's say there are people who only sleep 2 hours a night because the rest of the time they just meditate, they know how to retreat within without sleeping. And then you tell that to people and then say, yeah, I don't believe it. It's just their problem. You know why they don't believe it? Because they're lazy. They just don't want to put in the work. So they rather say it's a lie, but only liars pick up lies, which is only half true. Because if you say that you only sleep 2 hours per night, but I look at you and I feel like I cannot see how that is supposed to be possible, because let's say you're obese and you look very unhealthy. If energy in your body is not flowing the way it should be, then I have a hard time believing that you could actually manage that, to maintain such a state of consciousness. Because I remember, and I'm still working hard on it, that staying awake to me is a major accomplishment, and that I can only stay awake if my energy is flowing adequately through my mind. Like, it has to, I don't know, the way we say it is that it comes in kind of like through the root chakra and then it goes like this. It may also be that it's more like this, so there's like a magnetic field or something. And this is the normal state for animals to be in. So an animal, what we consider as an animal, but there is no such thing as an animal. Everything is mind. So we say lizards are just really stupid. You give them prey and they just, lizards know how to focus, my friend. They know how to put their mind onto hunting. You know, that's what a predator does. He's focused on food. Now, you can say that a deer is a predator for certain plant beings, and deer are not only active during the day, they also do stuff at night. You know, a deer doesn't really sleep, but its body, I mean, they do go into resting, but not like humans. And why is that? Because they never live. You know, you only sleep like we do if you have a completely safe environment. Like here I can lock the door and it's going to be very hard for people to get into this place. But let's say you're in a cave. Let's say you would sleep in a cave, or you sleep on some kind of tree, like let's say a vervet, because I feel connected to them. I mean, you have to stay kind of aware of your surroundings simply because there's things like snakes. And if you're a primate in Africa, what we call primates, I always like to make that point, because it's just a word, it's a being of nature, and so are you. You've just been secluded from her because we were trying as a collective, you know, to like betray our mother or to run away from who we actually are, which is beings of nature, right? We're like, oh, we're not beings of nature. But this has probably happened for a very long time. I mean, with that, I mean not just since yesterday, I mean for a very long time. It's probably happening over and over again. Everything's kind of, you know, that's the idea of a fractal. Everything's repetitive. Everything is repeating itself constantly. You know, what's happening in the big is happening in the small. Okay, the question is, do you believe, you know, let's say, are ant colonies corruptible? I mean, in the sense of ant colonies corruptible as... Are ant colonies corruptible in the sense of, you know, that ants suddenly start acting like they're butterflies? Yeah, okay, that's... Maybe humans are supposed to build cities. Maybe it is our purpose to build such colonies. Well, that's hard to say, right? That's really hard to say. Okay, how would you explain it to someone who has no idea? So we say there's nocturnal animals, which are animals that are awake at night. What's the difference? Well, the question is there a difference? Or is there no difference? Because now we're getting towards concepts in spirituality, or generally, if you're dealing with language or with minds, where you say, you know, left is right are two sides of the same coin. But if you want to live in the middle, you always have to see left and right. Now you look at, you know, being awake and sleeping. Okay. So what's the middle? What's the middle between being awake and sleeping? What is the middle between night and day? You'd say, it's probably twilight. Yeah, but twilight is a word. So sure, you can say twilight is the transition between night and day, but if you just take night and day, like the sun is up and it's pitch black, okay, but it is never like that. I mean, you cannot separate it like this because there's stuff like full moon, there's stuff like cloud cover, there's stuff like the new moon and the waning and the waxing moon. So everything in nature is like this. There's ups and there's downs, right? There's ups and it's downs. Sometimes I'm more conscious, like tonight, I don't know, for whatever reason. Well, we just passed the full moon. Maybe that's why. But I also drank black tea. And it goes up and goes down. 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 So every time you go up, you can surf for a while. Then you go down and you have to start working hard again. And that's just how it is. I mean, seriously. This is exactly what I've been talking about for a very long time, that everything happens in waves. That's the natural thing happening in nature. Everything happens in waves. You see what I'm saying? There's ups and there's downs, but there's in-betweens. And there's no like sections like time. No, it's always in flow. Yeah? And you've probably been taken out of flow. Which means that you have to actively start engaging with yourself. And that's the hard part. In order to get back into flow. You yourself are responsible for this. So if you feel like being awake at night more, because just think about it. If you manage to stay awake for longer periods of time, let's say you work a normal job, yeah? Like 9 to 5, the classic thing. But you want to free yourself from this kind of life, you know, escape this trap. And you want freedom. And you want to earn money, and then you want to buy land and just be free of all of this. And then maybe even, you know, build a commune with people that you trust and that you feel like you can work together with them. You know, that's the general idea. You know, that's like Morpheus, right? You free yourself with your mind by working out all of these concepts, and then you try to find a way to somehow earn money with your skills, with the abilities that you've been given. You know, you try to maybe raise awareness and then escape and then build yourself, you know, something. You know, whatever you do, that's then in the end your choice. So there's also transitions. So I'm saying I'm working a lot at night, and I've been trying for years to stop masturbating. Maybe I finally managed, right? I can never say. Because every time I think, I've managed, I'm still trying to escape. I feel like I have enough work now and I cannot actually masturbate anymore because the workload is so heavy. I mean, I'm serious about this. The workload is so heavy that I actually have to use all the energy that is flowing. But before now, I could have never used it all because it was always stuck somewhere. But I feel like I've pushed through certain boundaries simply by doing what I'm doing and learning, strengthening my body to be able to actually channel this amount of energy, getting back my balance, training my left side, training my right side, and then just doing it both at the same time, and then keep going, keep channeling, training myself like a father would train his son. This is how I've been training myself. And this sounds really insane, but I have found no teacher that I could have trusted at all, because there was no teacher that was adequate to what I needed to know. And that's the truth, because, to me, my guru is then life. And why is my guru life? Because everybody's lazy. The only thing people worship in this world seems to be money. So you try to find let's say you try to find a teacher in yoga. Then what you will find is people that say they teach yoga, but what they actually just want money. They just teach you holding postures, but they don't even teach you holding them. They just teach you like rushing through them. But yoga happens mostly in the mind. It's like you've got a concept, what's good, what's bad. So do you feel drawn to being awake more at night? I don't know. I mean, I like being awake. I just always kept falling back to sleep. And so I simply had to find ways to stay awake longer for certain periods of time, but I don't think you can just stay awake forever. I mean, that's what I found in the guy called Yogananda. Autobiography of a Yogi. And he says he found a guru that was able, or a master. I like that term a bit better, to be honest. That never slept, but he meditated to replenish his energy. But he had to have times where he just sat and meditated. So you can have times where you're active, but then you need times where you rest. You see what I'm saying? So you can be awake for long periods of time, but you still need resting. So even if, let's say, you never sleep, you still need to rest. every day a little. I haven't yet managed to stay awake, if you want to call it that, simply because my energy wasn't flowing properly. It was leaking out at the bottom because my body and my mind and my resolve and my will was too weak. Because I, as an individual, have to also understand what I'm doing, but I'm also a bit stubborn. So I also need to learn, why am I supposed to do it? Right? I mean, why am I supposed to do it? Right, seriously, why am I supposed to do it? Why should I do anything at all, ever? Sure. Because there's probably something that you would like in your life. And for me, it's being with my incredibly stubborn and ignorant wife. That kind of wants me to be someone, and I cannot say, I mean, you know, I keep talking about this, but it's just annoying in a way. I mean, I keep talking about this, but it just makes no sense. It will not make any sense to you because it's my life. And so you will never for 100% understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. But I like teachings. And if I feel like there's a woman that could possibly teach me something, then that's a challenge. I mean, I have the feeling that I've been challenged by a woman. And the challenge is about being the man in a way that can give her a child. Like, she's challenged me to be the father of her children. That's how I feel like. And that's basically what also keeps me alive, because I needed something to live for. And if that wouldn't have happened, then I wouldn't have done all of this stuff. But somehow I met her and I kept feeling her inside my mind. And she was just sparkling me this, we could get together and, do this. What? Like this incredibly sweet thing. That's just so hard to get, which is, like real Tantra yoga with a woman, which you probably have to look very hard to get that. I cannot yet claim that I have it, but I feel in my mind that, it's like, it's coming my way. So I have to prepare myself, and for that I have to be as conscious as I can be, because what a woman needs in order to be satisfied by a man, and I know, I'm good at channeling energy, but I used to be bad at it. Now I'm getting better. And so I've been training a lot. But I needed something to invest myself in, because I felt like I wanted a woman that I can call my wife. I wanted a partner that I can spend a lot of time with. But then when you find that partner, this partner may have certain requests. I will give myself to you fully if you can match my spirit. Right? In order to do Tantra, you need to match each other's spirits. And I am not who you see here talking. Who you see here talking is just my business plan. This is not really who I am. This is just who I am in this world, or this is just who I am right now, because this is what the time is like. If I would have been born during, let's say, the Viking Age, and no other cultures would have tried to take over, our place, I probably would have started fighting, right? But during these times, we've got police and all of that stuff. So I'll just say, okay, I'll orient myself with Gandhi. But believe me, if I would have had to protect my family with an axe, I would have done so. Because I'm in that sense, I see myself as a warrior. I mean, what do I mean? I see myself. I mean that that's just what I think I am, right? I just think that I am a warrior. And so what's a nocturnal animal? I mean, what do lynx do when they don't hunt? Well, they probably, because a lynx is also a being of mind. It's just that nobody understands this. Like, researchers are like trapped in this materialistic bubble. They think, this is just wood. Oh, this is a cajon, it's a music instrument, but he never uses it. Maybe he will later, or maybe he will never. This is a music instrument. No, it's actually a part of the forest, right? I mean, this was originally wood, and before it was wood, it was other stuff. The tree just brought it together, and then somebody came, cut down the tree, and made this out of it. And it's probably not one tree, it's probably several, each piece from a different one. And then you say, what are you talking about? It's like, well, I'm just saying, it's energy, where does it come from? Okay, what does that have to do with nocturnal animals? Well, I'm just showing it to you. I mean, it's 1 at night and I'm awake and I'm working. And when I've done this image, I'm possibly going to sleep, or I'm going to read. Maybe my mission is to try to stay awake for longer periods of time so that I cannot get trapped into all kinds of lies, which I feel like it's something that constantly happens. I'm awake and then I sleep, and then I'm awake and then I sleep, and it's just, in a way, it's really annoying. And the reason it's really annoying is every time I'm awake, I remember the things that I'm kind of like doing. And then I fall asleep again. And it just makes no sense. But I'm talking about it, right? I'm talking about it. And nothing never makes sense until you realize how it actually is. So I'm trying to understand this thing that is consciousness. Yeah? And in order to understand that, I'm just trying to be awake longer, to test my boundaries, and to learn to just be awake for longer periods of time. I mean, I mean, you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying, don't you? You're just acting like you don't. You know, I'm trying to figure out how long I can stay awake for so that I can see for myself. You know, I'm running a self-experiment on how long I can stay awake for. That's basically all I'm saying, you know. I want to know what the truth is because I cannot get truth from scientists, because scientists are just full of shit, because they think they know stuff but they don't know anything. Because they forgot that you should never cling to knowledge. You know, you have to constantly, in a certain sense, look at what's happening, and then you have to adjust your behavior. So in that sense, you can say, we're living in a world. Yeah. That wants you to sleep so that you can be trapped into buying products that you don't need. Oh, damn it. That you don't need, but that you've been told you need because other people live off the energy. Right? So this world is a world of greed. Okay. And as it is so, you have to learn to protect yourself. Because there's stuff like voodoo. And I irritate a lot of people by talking about these things because they think this should be kept secret because they're using voodoo, right, to trap other people in their minds. And that's a fact. I mean, I've tested these things. You know, it's hard to believe, right? It's really hard to believe. Wait, what was this? Ah, of course. Unless you have realized that it is like this. But it is hard to believe unless you've tested it and you've realized that there are people that can play tricks on your mind. You know, and then you may realize, okay, I think maybe he's right, but unless it's relevant to you and you feel like something's trapping you, you cannot free yourself from this. So, Nocturnal Animals, man. It's probably what it's about. Try to stay awake, stay conscious as much as you can. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to stay as conscious as I can. Because I have a vision, I have a mission. But at a certain stage, I always feel like I have to release myself back into sleep. And that's simply what comes from running self-experiments. Right? I'm running self-experiments, and that's what I've said now. So now I'm just repeating myself. Because I'm just waiting until I have finished this. Holy smokes. I mean, this is hard work. Burping is also just energy, right? that's being released. I'm rendering a video that I recorded in this slow motion mode, which records at 240 frames per second, which means that rendering it takes about 10 times as long as it would with a normal video recorded at 24 frames per second. Now I'm just gonna let this run. I realize, I don't know, I can either keep drinking tea or just try to stay awake. Well, that's just what each of us has to decide for themselves. When to sleep. Or maybe I'm just gonna stay awake. But I also like sleeping, right? So I'm not that nocturnal. But maybe I am, right? Maybe I am. Maybe I am as nocturnal as I think I might be. And maybe I am not at all nocturnal. Maybe I'm denocturnalizing myself. Well, there's always times, I call that the point of no return, where you just fall into some kind of slumber. But I feel like I'm avoiding sleep because of just because of what happened today. There was one of these weird confrontations you have with your neighbor where they try to challenge you in a weird sort of way and you confront them and then you're not sure what it meant. And I'm not sure if you know what I mean when I say stuff like this. Because I don't know where you're at. What's your experiences with the dance? What's your experiences with all that kind of stuff? I know what I know because it has become more and more relevant to me. And in a spiritual way, I have undergone training, like mental training, to withstand pressure that is being applied onto my mind. And in order to relate this to the public, I have been furthermore trained in like communication. Communicating these things is very difficult because to understand this takes a great amount of cleansing and observational skills, right? You have to be conscious and your mind has to be up and running in order for you to pick up on fine differences like energy shifts that most people will never ever pick up on. But I just had to learn that we are all channels of energy, and this goes into the direction of then witchcraft and all that kind of stuff, and that just sounds weird. And a lot of people don't want me to talk about this because they use it to manipulate others, to get them to do right. Like, there's people that manipulate other people in their minds so that they are the victim. I mean, gossip happens mostly in the mind. Sometimes you wonder how information, you know, how people get to certain kinds of information to manipulate you or something. They take it from inside your mind, my friend. Gossip happens mostly through the mind. There are people that communicate through the mind to band together and gossip about others. And you can feel these things, so you have to learn to protect yourself. And I have learned this. I have done a lot of stuff in the last couple of days where I feel like I probably should pay attention to what's going on, because in a way, if I sleep now, I don't know. I don't know what's possible in that sense, right? How am I supposed to know what's exactly happening? How am I supposed to know what's exactly happening? Okay, I'm gonna call this tracing traces left by mind. And then I leave it for people to figure this out. Because a mind, you are a being of mind. Every being is a being of mind. And that has a certain kind of energy. So I can feel if your mind is trying to get into my mind, and I can block it. There are minds that I may allow, but I can probably, I will pick up on you. Because I have been trained as a scorpion, so I can, you know, protect my lair. And there are a few people, or possibly none, that can pin me down in my own mind. I mean, if you try to get into my mind, you're gonna have a hard time getting out of it until I'm done with you. And for that, I have trained myself to just be awake and to just withstand pressure. You know, that's all I can say to you. I mean, I'm just trying to post as much as I can. Well, I'm fully aware that people probably think that I'm some kind of AI, but I cannot help this, right? Because if my mind does this by itself, I'm just doing it, it's just happening. You know, what am I supposed to do about it? I see value in this. And that's all that should matter. If you see value in something, keep pursuing it. So in a way, I have proven in so many ways, I don't know what the algorithm does. I don't really give a crap. Maybe I'm cracking the algorithm by intuitively doing stuff, but If I do, then it's taking a long time, my friend. I'm basically just overloading the system with information, and then I'm just working with the law of attraction, and I just say it has to happen by itself. But I would call myself the leading authority on all matters concerning mind and all matters concerning probably channeling energy and shamanism, at least on the internet. Because I've brought it all together. I've been honing my mind for years now, which, if it's happening in your mind, there's no time. It's timelessness. It's an eternity. And I have learned about diet, about movement, about communication, about whatever you want to call this. And I'm just flooding the market with spiritual mind stuff, which people will struggle hard to understand. And that's a clear understatement. Like a really clear and there are more people like me who just do a lot of art. And sometimes people reach out to you and they just create like mad. And this is inspiring, right? Sometimes I reach out to people and then people reach out to me. But you actually have to be awake. Your mind has to be up and running. And to keep that from fading away, and then you realize there's people like me out there that just, sacrifice their entire life for just being creative and figuring out what this is. I've just been in the game for a long time, and I can do things because I do nothing else. And that's all I can say, right? But I just don't get why it's taking such a long time. If you know what I'm saying. I mean, nothing's really happening. Nobody ever really contacts me. I am being contacted inside my mind, but that makes no sense to you unless you've been training it. You have to actually train this, and for that you have to stay awake, and maybe I'm supposed to do this now. Try to stay awake. But what do I do then during the day? Because I have to work at night and during the day then. Because if I have a lot to do during the day, then I have to stay awake at night. Because people start annoying me. They're like demanding my presence for stuff I do during the day. But I'm running out of time. I cannot do all of it unless I stay awake at night. And that simply is the truth. Right? That simply is the truth. And what I'm showing to people with posts like creative freedom is urging me on, which is just an image of a list I created on LibreOffice Calc. The calculator is the Excel version of LibreOffice, right? So I'm very structured. My mind, I started to structure everything. I started making lists for YouTube videos, writing it all down. And then every time I created another video, you know, it has a number and it has a date already. So if I, you know, schedule 2025, then I make a list and I take, you know, 1st of January 2025, and then I drag it down until the 31st of December 2025. You know, and then I number it 1 to 365. And then I start saying, you know, created and uploaded. So created, right, means I recorded it, I rendered it with Kdenlive, whatever it is, you know. I made the audio with Audacity. And then I put it onto my hard drive, usually. At the moment, that's how it is. And then I go to my parents. And then I upload it. Hopefully, maybe at some point I will have internet here. So I can start maybe doing other things. Also doing live sessions, streaming. I don't know, man. You know, it's hard to say. It's a different kind of life. That's all I can say. It's a completely different kind of life. It will never make sense unless you live it, and it may take years to get there. But if you feel like you've got some kind of purpose and you like this, you know, I like being in nature, but this I like too, because this is pure creation. Plus I've got a purpose, I've got a mission, I've got something to do it for. You know, if you're like a warrior type, and suddenly there's this woman or this young girl, woman, whatever, this young spirit, female thing, kind of like thrown at you, like clings to you, and you cannot get rid of her, just accept her. But then she has to be trained, my friend, and so do you. Because this is not just gonna be like cuddle sex. This is gonna be the real deal. Like, Tantra is no cuddle sex. I mean, you can have like cuddly stuff, but I don't know, right? You have to see, you know, how you engage with each other. That's basically how it is. I mean, her purpose may be to just drive you insane. You know what I'm saying, right? So extreme pleasure is also like torture. You know, sometimes you have visions that are so nice, just feels like torture. Sometimes you have visions that are so awful, it feels like torture. So pleasure is torture, torture is torture. So what's suffering? I don't know. I mean, there's people that feel pleasure from pain. So what's pain? What's pleasure? What's nocturnal? I don't know, man. I don't think that leopards ever sleep. They cannot sleep. I don't believe and I don't feel that leopards ever sleep. You know this image where there's this jaguar being filmed and he's just sitting there kind of like purring or something, and his eyes are half closed or maybe even open, but usually like half closed, just looking like, so he's half conscious. That's probably the form of meditation that I ought to learn or something. I don't know, man. I wish I could just be a nomad, but you know, I just have to focus on what's happening right now. And maybe there's gonna be people that pick up on what I'm doing, but the best way would be for people to just do it themselves. To just do it themselves. To just figure it out for themselves and to just do it then. That's just what I'm seeing. That the best, you know, you turn out to be some kind of a muse. You know what I'm saying, right? So you inspire people by being creative to be creative themselves. And maybe that's all it's gonna be for you. But there's probably gonna be some kind of like a chain reaction. Because I have overloaded the entire system with my creations. So in a sense, you could say it's just a matter of time, but until it has happened, I feel like I just have to continue. Because I can only reach people if I'm creating. So I still have sketches. And then you think, you know, why stop now? Whatever, man. I think this video is reaching a conclusion because the rest you just have to figure out for yourself. And that's what I truly believe. Because my speech is getting slurpy. I need to go to the restroom. And I'm looking forward to today's hike. And then I just have to see, I mean, it's an effort. Life is effort. And that's all you have to know. That whatever you do, it's gonna be an effort. And that's all you have to know. I mean, it's an effort, and for that I breathe, I keep breathing, and I just keep making an effort, because that's what life is. It's a bit like, and then you know, okay, let's go. So you can prepare yourself, but it's gonna be an effort all the way. And that's what I had to say, right? I'm glad I did it in this way, because everything else would have just driven me mad. This just came spontaneous. Good choice.